Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to welcome you to a People Talk special with Paul Lawrence. For my regular viewers, you'll know that last week, Sunday, we discussed what people from the diaspora could do to support their various countries in the aftermath of COVID-19. Today, I have the extreme pleasure and honor to be joined by His Excellency Seth George Ramocan, who is the High Commissioner from Jamaica to the UK. And he has, at very reasonably short notice, agreed to do a very short and hopefully informal and informative interview about what the High Commission, what role the High Commission is playing right now, and probably to help us answer the same question I spoke to my guest about last week, Sunday. Good afternoon, Mr. High Commissioner.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me on your program.
Yeah, really a great pleasure. And I want to thank Ms. Silva for helping to arrange this because I know in these conditions, sometimes the effort to get stuff like this done, but she did it and I'm very grateful. I think where we'd like to start very much is, the role of the High Commission is obviously to support Jamaicans abroad, but we have no doubt that the High Commission is probably exploring what it can do to help Jamaica get back on her feet. And we'd like to explore what plans, if any, or what ideas we'd like to be looking at.
Sure. Thanks, Paul. Really good to be on your program and, of course, to share with your listeners. As you know, the High Commission is actually the representative of the government of Jamaica here in whatever countries we are located, and as a result, we do not, formulate policies outside of the government of Jamaica. So the context in which I answer that question is really the plans and ideas that the government is exploring to help Jamaica get back, because the High Commission now assists in that process. I think where I'd like to start is to say, if you consider this, that in January 2020, unemployment levels had shrunk to about 7.2% in Jamaica, coming down from a level of 17% 2 years earlier. And so we felt that we were very much on the path of development and growth and with high expectations and things like that. Now, after COVID-19 here in 2020, it is expected that unemployment will rise above 25%.
Ouch.
Bringing with it many, dislocations to the lives and the livelihood of many families that were, many of whom were economically, fairly stable because people had jobs and so on and so forth. And of course, pushing many persons who were, the poor below the poverty line because of the impact. It is because of this that the government had put together, what is called a care program as a first step, because the immediate, sort of blow that people are bearing is what you have to do first. It's like there's an accident, and the first thing you do is to try to at least have the person recover, and then you try to see if you can get them into a hospital or something like that. So there are various stages, and so what happened is the government immediately launched a care program. Care here is reaching out to the more vulnerable people of the nation, and as a result, it happens that some 403,000 persons actually applied for assistance. Now you can imagine, therefore, the amount of need that there is on the ground. And of that 350,000 applicants have been confirmed as eligible for, the government's compassionate grants through the government's care program. And then, of course, many persons who were now employed. So that category is not necessarily persons who had stable jobs per se. They were the lower income, group. But then there is that group now of persons about who you would call more coming towards your lower middle class. Many of them are persons, who have come out of university or college or so,
Yes.
so they're below the age of, say, 40 and so on. And their obligations, of rent and mortgage and hire purchase and all kinds of things now have really faced them, and they also are in a bind. So already more than 60,000 persons from that particular sector have already applied for cash grants that the government has really offered to help to ease the blow. And so this is part of what the government is doing in the meantime in order to ease the social, dislocation, the sort of family life stability and things of that nature to try and address that. Now, in terms of the macroeconomic issues for the recovery of Jamaica and to get Jamaica back on its foot, the government is taking a number of steps. Now, I don't know if you are aware, but the IMF has forecasted that the Jamaican economy will contract by about 5.6%.
Wow.
After this. So 5.6% is going to bring us back to where we were or worse at some time ago when our debt to GDP ratio was, above 100%. Debt was in excess of GDP. And we had brought it down where, it was from 150% roughly debt at 100% GDP. Now we had brought it down to in the region of about 90%, and so it was 100% in terms of GDP, 90% debt. That has changed again, and so it is very, very critical that the government will not be able to sustain these grants or these assistance. They are only temporary measures. And what the government is seeking to do is to try to now put back the economy in a shape where it can get rolling again. Of course, it's going to take some time to do that, but as quickly as it can in order to get this done. So what the government of Jamaica, the Holiness Administration, has done as a start is to establish a high-powered task force, that can think about what we must do in order to kickstart the economy. That task force is headed by the Minister of Finance of Jamaica, who is the Minister of Finance and also of the Public Service. And along with him are a number of persons who are leaders and thinkers from both academia, industry, the entire private sector. You look at the people who have a direct interest in the recovery of the economy, and you bring in these persons who have been accustomed to making decisions for recovery. And also Jamaica has already entered an application to the International Monetary Fund to access what is called its rapid financing instrument. And as a result, it will be able to bring those funds on board in order to begin to boost and to help the economy to recover. So within a couple of weeks, the government will be presenting the official plan, the official approach to reopening. Already, we are reopening both, what is called the BPO, the business processing outsourcing sector, which had to be closed recently, much of it, because much of the virus, began to find itself there and, did some escalation.
Is that the place in St. Catherine?
That is right. St. Catherine was a place where this was discovered, but we had to take steps in even though there was no virus found there, to ensure that they were complying with the standards for sanitation and for, protection to keep the virus out of these places. So there is already the reopening beginning of the business processing outsourcing sector. There is the resumption of a full blast for the agricultural sector to begin to get into full gear. There will be a gradual reopening of other sectors, such as, as can be done along the way. So it has to be a gradual process until the virus is brought fully under control. But right now, we are at a point where just 2 days ago, the number of persons who were sort of added to the list were just 2 persons, of persons found with the virus. So what we find is that there is a downturn in the number of persons being added. So while we're implementing stringent policies to contain and control the virus, at the same time, we are, where it is possible, beginning to reopen the economy. Indeed. And so, these steps, we believe, will put us now in a position where we can begin to recreate jobs for the many people who we have to be propping up, yes, with a sort of social welfare, efforts. But as you know, we wouldn't be able to do that for very long. So we better get the economy rolling as long as that is possible. At no point will the economic effort supersede the importance of the health effort. The health effort is the first level and the most important objective, and the economy is next. And so what we are trying to do is to find that happy balance that can cause the control of the spread of the virus, while allowing, where possible, the businesses to begin to get back to work, to create jobs, to create income, and of course, to create an economy that can serve us, in the way we envisaged.
I think that's very heartening to hear. Being someone who grew up in Jamaica, I understand the constraints. So, so when we hear about countries like the UK or the USA throwing billions of pounds or US dollars into propping up, we kind of understand. And I think anybody who has a deep-rooted life or any knowledge really of somewhere in the Caribbean, they understand that what we can do is limited. But it's great Absolutely. To know that we are certainly doing something. And I think the only regret in all of what you said is that, I too was aware of the sort of progress that Jamaica was making, and the path we were going. And, it kind of, and I'm sure to see for yourself, it kind of is bittersweet to know that progress, which, I've certainly seen and witnessed for myself, is now turned back. But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. And I think that certainly brings us to our second question, which is, it's really great and it's very warming to know that we're doing what we can as a government standpoint. But what is it that, people like myself who live in the UK, who, born and grow, that's our land. What can we do, and, how do we connect in any sort of efforts at all?
Yes, the fact is that, first of all, this event of the pandemic is so much different from when in the Caribbean, or in Jamaica for that matter, you may have a hurricane or an earthquake, and much disaster has been done. And we can call on the diaspora to help. The diaspora itself is, grappling
indeed,
with this issue as well. So just across the world, wherever or people are. And so we are taking an approach that, we have to reach out to our diaspora. We want to know what is happening to our nationals who live in so many countries across the world, and how they can be helped. I mean, regrettably, for example, during this period of the COVID-19, we have lost a number of valuable members of our community, who have passed. And although, I've been able to reach out to some of the relatives, I would like, really to use this opportunity to once again convey the deepest condolences and the best wishes of the government of Jamaica and all of us at the Jamaica High Commission to those persons who have suffered loss of loved ones in the hospitals, recovering. We just have to be able to say it is something where it is a kind of, we are supporting one another in that case,
Yes.
in this circumstance, because all of us are going through this unprecedented crisis that is facing the world. Of course, members of the diaspora, they have been rising to the occasion in many ways to help Jamaica, because this has been a pattern of compassion that Jamaicans have towards their homeland. And so it is one in which we find that many persons have been in touch with Jamaica. Just recently, for example, we had was termed a telethon.
Yes, indeed, I
which
saw that.
Yes, and that was, a great thing to do, because one, it opened up the way for those who could help, because one of the issues that we were facing was the enormous cost of the personal protection equipment that the medical people who are in the front line need in order to work with the individuals who are affected. And although quite a lot of money was spent getting these equipment, there was still need for more. And using the telethon, many of our artists, they just gave freely of their time and willingly of their talent in order to reach out to the world. And there are many, many persons in the diaspora and in Jamaica on the ground who actually participated and helped to give this kind of support. And it is also, one in which we were not only helped in that way, but you find that there were persons on the ground in Jamaica who were at the same time looking out to say our nationals that are overseas, that are stranded, we have to find a way to get them in, although we can't bring in too many people at the same time, because as you know, the idea is that once individuals come into Jamaica, there has to be a quarantining to ensure that once they are back out into the society, that there is no sort of spread of
Yes.
the virus. So it's just a precaution. And so Jamaica is gradually providing resources to house the persons who come in to be quarantined, and to make sure that they are safe and okay. And then, of course, they are back in the regular society. But one of the things I really want to say to our nationals is that, it is very important that we, continue to observe the established guidelines for safety regulations. In particular, the staying at home as much as possible. You can, except for emergencies like going to buy groceries or so. The sanitation exercises of washing of hands and wearing of masks and all these various things, that is very important that we continue to do this and to get that done. We have many, many Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica who have made personal sacrifices of their time in order to help members of the diaspora on the ground here, who are, locked in, and they are probably having issues of loneliness, issues of isolation, issues of fear, and need lots of sometimes just psychological support. And that is so important. Sometimes it's not the medication, it's what can be done in between to help people to get back a sense of connection and belonging. And all of this is being done in order to help one another. So I call it, one hand wash the other kind of principle, where we are not looking to the diaspora in the way we would have in times when it was just like earthquake or hurricane in Jamaica. We are saying that, our diaspora is in trouble. We
Indeed.
also must
Yes.
look out and see how we can help one another in the way we can. There are many persons in the diaspora that are not as badly affected, and they are doing all that they can to help their homeland. But similarly, Jamaica is trying to do its part, its best, in order to reach out to our diaspora.
So I guess the question for me, and I just brought up the High Commission details, which we'll talk about in a second. But I guess the question for me is there anything that we are able to do? Because maybe a group of us could get together, a couple hundred masks, whatever it is. How would we, for example, coordinate to get that down to Jamaica? Is there a facility that allows that to happen? Because some of us might be able to do that. I'm talking off
Of
the top of
course.
my head now.
Yes, of course. And, there is a gift policy that the Ministry of Health has, the Ministry of Education has, for doing these kinds of support. And so what you will notice is that in the sort of briefings that are given by the authorities on a daily basis, you're able to see, some sense of the needs, of the crises, of the issues that are being felt on the ground, and to really reach out to give the support. I know, for example, that the issue of personal protection equipment is still an issue.
Okay.
And we need to be able to do that. The issue of the number of families that have fallen, through because of the economic issues are very, very greatly needed. And therefore, one can extend support not only through the method that we were using with the telethon, but checks, for example, can be written to the Jamaica Health Fund, which is through the Ministry of Health, which is really carrying the biggest part of the weight to ensure that the containment of the virus is held. The idea of children going back to school in September, but they are now home, and parents are dealing with a situation now that they weren't really didn't have to deal with before, because children would have been normally in school. So reaching out with gifts for the children in terms of educational or things that are developmental, mostly, not the usual sort of play thing, although play is a part of development.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Is there a mechanism? I've taken down the name for the Jamaica Health Fund for checks, yes, and such things. Is there a mechanism in place so that if somebody wanted to ship down some food or whatever it is that mechanism still in place, or is that still not possible right now?
No, it is possible. The shipment of cargo goods, that has not been stopped.
Good.
The ports are wide open for that. So both for airlifts and for vessels coming back through by sea, all of this is still open. The ports are open, and the question is, just in the usual way that you would have normally sent things to Jamaica, that is still possible at this point.
Perfect. I think I know a number of people who I would consider lovers of Jamaica, who I think it would be fair to say we should be able to put a barrel or two together.
Absolutely.
And every mickle make a muckle, as we like to say.
Exactly.
Or is it one cocoa full basket?
One cocoa full basket is another one.
Yes. High Commissioner, it's been very, very, very nice speaking to you. And I think the last thing I'd talk about is just about if there's been anything that we be able to do for people in the UK who, as you use the word, find themselves stranded in the UK, whether they were on visits, whether they're students, whatever it is, and now they don't qualify for UK assistance. Is there anything in place for them, or is this something else that those of us in the diaspora who may have a little bit more should be helping to focus towards as well? Because
yes, of course, the mission, the physical building is closed, but because of the national lockdown. But the staff of the High Commission is still at work. We're at work in various ways from home and so on. And we are reaching out as the High Commission to not only the community, but to Jamaicans who have come here and are stranded because, of course, there are no flights to Jamaica. They did not plan to be out of the country for so long. Therefore, funds, the amount of funds they had has now been depleted. And so survival is the name of the game. And so what we have been doing in order, first of all, to know who are the persons on the ground, we have been holding a series of digital meetings with key members of the community. That is like the heads of organizations. We had a digital meeting with as many heads of organization as we could put together on a digital platform in order to find out what is happening in their particular space. Who do they know that is in a situation of need, and to have that catalog that they want to go back to Jamaica as early as possible, and they need to have information as to what is their status, so to speak, in this way, considering that the ports in Jamaica are closed. And that meeting we've had also with the faith community.
Yes.
We've met with the faith community, the churches, in order to be able to, for them to share with us, as well as to know what is happening. Persons that have died in the community. It is so sad that funerals, for example, it's a limited number of persons that can go, maybe 10 or 15 or something like that. So unusual. And families are not able to see their loved ones before they die, because if they were in the hospital and it was in the coronavirus sort of environment there, you're not really not allowed to go into the hospital as you would have been, otherwise. So a lot of things have changed. And for this reason, we want to know. We have met also, like with students. There are many, many students here in the UK who have received scholarships and are in various universities or other institutions. And at this point, many of these institutions have been closed. These individuals are somewhat feeling lonely. They are feeling probably a bit of depression, isolation, and so on. And we were able to bring a number of students together, and they were getting to know each other. Of course, some of them were already in touch with each other, but they're getting to know each other better because of this, and so they can have a sort of community of their own that they can work with. So we have met with, of course, our honorary consuls in the same way, and various other groups, the Jamaica Diaspora, the Global Diaspora Council members, the leader for the North, such as Dr. Kevin Brown, the leader for the South, such as Nathaniel Pete, and the youth leaders and so on. So we have been very, very active, very, very present, though be it, in a sort of, virtual way. But yesterday was not virtual when, we had to go to Bournemouth, where we had 124 Jamaicans who were being repatriated to Jamaica. A number of them, 84 of them, were persons who were crew members on various vessels that were here in the harbor, and they were able to be included on that flight. And there were 40 persons who are not connected to the shipping industry. They are persons who came here, and some of them elderly, others with children, and so on, young children, and are having such a difficulty. And so we were able, through the collaboration, negotiation, to work with the various partners, such as the shipping company, such as the government of the UK, to be able to agree on how we can work together to get our nationals in to Jamaica and to get British nationals out of Jamaica. These are all work that are being done. And you know, I want to say something here, Paul, that many folks, when they see these things are happening, they believe that, well, nobody's doing anything. When in fact, so much work is being done, but work that is, has to be done behind the scenes, because you cannot be out in the public talking about what is happening in a discussion while the discussion is taking place, because that's not the way, that's not the protocol. That's not what people would really want to talk to you about if before a decision is taken, you're out there,
Indeed.
blabbering about it. So this is where, I ask for the patience, for the understanding, and, meeting with someone like you on your platform to be able to share these things. It matters so much to us to have this opportunity to share with you, because I know you reach a community of persons that follow you and follow your program, and this sort of information is valuable for them to know. We have a website, the Jamaica High Commission. We have a Facebook that is there that the individuals can go to in order to get information and to know what is happening. And I can give you some telephone numbers at which we can be contacted. If your listeners are listening and you have a pen in your hand, or you have grab a piece of paper, I'm going to give you some numbers, because what is happening is that although our staff, most of us are working from home, what happens is that we still have, put numbers in place that you can reach individuals. So for example,
yeah, if you have the numbers, you can give me them. I can take them down.
Yes, one of the number is 0207 823 9911. Another number is 0207 581 6679. Another number is 0207 581 0063, and also 0207 581 0067. Now, those numbers, we get, we've been getting hundreds of calls on those numbers, and we're able to give information. Sometimes it's just knowledge that people know. They just need to know what is going on. They just need to talk to somebody who can clarify a point. They just need to say, this is this is my situation. So we can connect them with other people who can help. Or we can, do some emergency services in terms of consular services, persons who have to travel, but, have to get certain documents in place, those kinds of things. We are able to relate to folks. So if you call these numbers and you get a busy signal, don't give up. Just leave a message and we will call back in order to, speak with you to know what is happening. There's also our email, which is jamhigh, JAMHIGH, jamhigh at jhcuk.com. That's Jamaica High Commission UK.com, but it is jhcuk.com. So you're able to send emails to that address, and also we process hundreds of emails per day because of the flow of information that come into us, and people are in touch. So the High Commission is very much on the ground, very much at work, very much in touch, and very much anxious to hear from persons who need to be in touch with us so that we can be of some help.
On that note, I just have to say a really, really, really big thank you, sir, because you know what? We worry about our country and we worry about our people. And, the inability, I just say, if it was a hurricane, by now we'd all be there. Those of who have the means, we'd be there a long time. And one of the most distressing parts is that not only can't we go, we don't know when we'll be able to go.
That is true.
And so I really, really thank you for the information you shared. You are right. We don't tend to know what's really going on behind the scenes, and this has been a great opportunity for Jamaicans, and I'm sure it'll be the same worldwide, because the people who will watch this video will be worldwide. It won't just be in the UK, and I'm sure that they'll find some comfort in what you've had to say. So, if you have any final words, now would be the time.
Yes, I really want to again just say not only thank you to the number of persons who have been going out of the way in order to help and to support Jamaica at this time of the crisis that is happening, but also to be supporting within their community all the persons who have been suffering because of the deaths or illnesses or other things that are happening. I really want to encourage that community support, to also to remind individuals not to let your guard down, because maybe you are getting on well and you think that you are safe. Keep up the safety practices, because this is very, very important for all of us to survive this. This is going to pass, and we're going to be able to move on. And what we want is for all of us to be there when we shall have come through this. This pandemic is unlike anything else that the world has seen in our age, and I would say maybe has seen since if you believe in the flood of Noah. Because what happens is that other pandemics that have occurred in the past, the travel was not as frequent
Indeed.
as it is today.
That is a difference. That is a big difference.
And that is a big difference. So therefore, the spread is so much wider, where there's hardly any country that has escaped. So let us not let down our guard. Let us keep it going, and let us reach out to each other. And at the end of the day, we'll be stronger for it, and we'll be able to work together to rebuild. Thank you for having me on your program, and I do look forward to joining you at some other time.
Thank you so much, High Commissioner. And again, this other time we'll be in Jamaica again, doing what we do and looking after each other. Thank you so much for your time. Good evening.
You're most welcome. Thank you too.